Welcome to the Story Lab. I hope you enjoy this story. Let's begin. The city lights of Hollywood twinkled beneath us as I stepped onto the rooftop bar. The air buzzed with chatter and laughter, the clinking of glasses a constant backdrop. I tugged at my ill-fitting suit, feeling out of place among the glittering crowd. "Neil, there you are." Sam's voice cut through the noise. My wife waved from across the bar, her smile dazzling. I made my way over, nodding to familiar faces. "Hey, babe," I said, leaning in for a kiss. She turned her cheek at the last second, my lips grazing her skin. "You're late," she said, her tone sharp. "I was starting to think you weren't coming. Traffic was a nightmare. You know how it is." I grabbed a drink from a passing waiter, downing half of it in one gulp. Sam rolled her eyes. "Well, you're here now. Come on, let's mingle." She dragged me through the crowd, introducing me to people whose names I immediately forgot. My gaze kept drifting back to her, marveling at how effortlessly she commanded attention. It was one of the things that had drawn me to her in the first place. "Neil, you remember Jason, right?" Sam's voice snapped me back to reality. Jason Reed stood before us, all perfect teeth and chiseled jawline. "Of course," I said, forcing a smile. "Good to see you again." "Likewise, man," Jason replied, clapping me on the shoulder. "How's the acting going? Land any big roles lately?" I felt my face flush. Not yet, but I've got a few auditions lined up." "That's great," Jason said, his eyes already drifting back to Sam. "Hey, Sam, did you hear about that new project Spielberg's working on?" And just like that, I was forgotten. I watched as they fell into an animated conversation, their bodies drifting closer together. Sam laughed at something Jason said, touching his arm in a way that made my stomach churn. I turned away, needing another drink. As I waited at the bar, I overheard snippets of conversation from a nearby group. "Can you believe Sam's still with him?" "I know, right? She could do so much better." "Well, someone's gotta pay the bills." Laughter erupted, and I felt my grip tighten on the glass. I glanced back at Sam and Jason, catching the way they leaned in close, whispering and giggling like teenagers. Something inside me snapped. I stormed over, pushing past the startled onlookers. "What the hell is going on?" I demanded, my voice louder than I intended. Sam's eyes widened. "Neil, what are you talking about?" "Don't play dumb, Sam. I've seen the way you two are looking at each other all night." Jason held up his hands. "Whoa, man, calm down. We're just talking." "Bullshit." I spat. "You think I don't see what's happening? The whispers, the looks. You're not as subtle as you think." Sam's face hardened. "Neil, you're making a scene. Let's talk about this at home." "No, I want answers now. How long has this been going on?" The crowd around us had gone silent, all eyes on our little drama. Sam glanced around, her cheeks flushed with anger or embarrassment. I couldn't tell. "Fine," she hissed. "You want the truth? I'm tired of pretending. You're fat and ugly, Neil. I only stayed with you to pay my bills." The words hit me like a physical blow. I staggered back, my vision blurring. "Sam, I started, but she cut me off. "Save it. We're done." She grabbed her purse and stormed off, Jason following close behind. I stood there, surrounded by pitying looks and hushed whispers, feeling my world crumble around me. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the stack of papers before me. Divorce papers. The words still felt foreign on my tongue. Sam paced the small living room, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. "Just sign them already, Neil. Let's get this over with." I looked up at her, searching for any hint of the woman I'd fallen in love with, but her eyes were cold, her jaw set in a hard line. "Half, Sam? You really want half of everything?" She stopped pacing, crossing her arms. "It's what I'm entitled to. We've been married for 5 years. 5 years you apparently spent resenting me," I muttered. "Oh, don't play the victim. You knew our marriage was in trouble?" I shook my head. "I knew things weren't perfect, but I had no idea you were." "What, sleeping with Jason?" She laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "Maybe if you'd paid more attention, you would have noticed." The divorce lawyer cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should focus on the matter at hand." Mr. Fisher, are you prepared to sign the agreement? I looked down at the papers again, my hand shaking as I reached for the pen. I just don't understand, Sam. We built a life together. Doesn't that mean anything to you? For a moment, I thought I saw a flicker of something in her eyes. Regret? Sadness? But it was gone in an instant, replaced by that cold, hard stare. What we built wasn't enough, Neil. I want more. And you're holding me back. I felt the last shred of hope wither and die. Fine, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. You want half? Take it. Take it all. I scrawled my signature across the dotted line, each stroke of the pen feeling like a knife in my heart. The lawyer gathered the papers, muttering something about filing them with the court. Sam sighed, a sound of relief. Thank God that's over. I'll have my stuff out by the end of the week. I couldn't look at her. Just go, Sam. Please. She hesitated for a moment, then grabbed her purse and headed for the door. For what it's worth, Neil, I am sorry. I never meant to hurt you. The door closed behind her with a soft click, leaving me alone in the apartment that suddenly felt too big, too empty. I buried my face in my hands, letting the tears finally fall. The smell of sweat and stale popcorn filled my nostrils as I stepped into the small theater. My footsteps echoed in the empty space as I made my way down the aisle. Neil, is that you? A voice called from the stage. I looked up to see Grace Adams, the theater director, peering down at me. Hey, Grace. Thanks for meeting me. She hopped off the stage, a bundle of energy as always. Of course. I'm glad you called. How are you holding up? I shrugged, not wanting to get into it. I've been better. You said you had a role for me? Grace's eyes lit up. Yes, it's a small part, but I think you'd be perfect for it. It's a comedy, a bit physical. You'd play the bumbling sidekick. My heart sank a little. Another comedy? I was hoping for something meatier. She gave me a sympathetic look. I know, Neil, and you've got the talent for it. But she trailed off, looking uncomfortable. But what? I pressed. Grace sighed. Look, I'm going to be straight with you. The industry is shallow. If you want those bigger roles, you might need to work on your physique a bit. I felt my face flush with embarrassment. You're saying I'm too fat for leading roles. I'm saying that getting in shape could open up more opportunities for you, she said gently. And hey, it might be good for you. Give you something to focus on besides everything else. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. Yeah, maybe you're right. So, tell me about this psychic role. As Grace launched into an explanation of the character, my mind wandered. Maybe it was time for a change. A big change. The gym was packed, the air thick with the smell of sweat and determination. I stood in front of the mirror, barely recognizing the man staring back at me. All right, Neil, let's do this. Lucas, my best friend and self-appointed gym buddy, clapped me on the shoulder. You ready to crush it? I took a deep breath. As ready as I'll ever be. We made our way to the weight machines, Lucas chattering away. You're gonna love this, man. Nothing like a good workout to clear your head. I grunted as I struggled with the chest press. Easy for you to say. You're not the one who feels like they're dying. Lucas laughed. No pain, no gain, brother. Channel that anger, that pain. Use it to fuel your transformation. I thought about Sam, about her cruel words, about Jason's smug face. I pushed harder, feeling the burn in my muscles. That's it. Lucas cheered. You've got this, Neil. One rep at a time. As we moved from machine to machine, I felt something stirring inside me. A determination I hadn't felt in years. You know, I said between sets, I think Grace was right. Maybe this is exactly what I need. Lucas nodded. Damn straight. New body, new you. And when you're done, we'll hit the auditions hard. Show them what Neil Fisher is really made of. I grinned, feeling a glimmer of hope for the first time in weeks. Yeah, let's do it. As we finished our workout, I caught my reflection again. The man in the mirror looked tired, sweaty, but there was a fire in his eyes that hadn't been there before. Watch out, Hollywood, I muttered. Neil Fisher is coming for you. The crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead as I adjusted my tailored suit. Months of grueling workouts and strict diets had transformed my body. I barely recognized myself in the mirror. Neil, my man. Lucas clapped me on the back. You ready to show these Hollywood types what you're made of? I took a deep breath. As ready as I'll ever be. We made our way through the crowded party. Heads turned, whispers followed. I caught snippets of conversation. Is that Neil Fisher? No way. He's lost like 100 pounds. Damn, he's looking good. Lucas grinned. See? You're already turning heads. I nodded, scanning the room. That's when I saw them. Sam and Jason, holding court in the center of the room. You want to avoid them? Lucas asked, following my gaze. I squared my shoulders.
No.
It's time to face the music. We approached the group. Sam's eyes widened as she saw me. Neil? She sounded genuinely surprised. Is that you? I forced a smile. In the flesh. You're looking well, Sam. Jason draped an arm around her shoulders. Well, if it isn't the amazing shrinking man. What brings you to the big leagues, Neil? I'm here for the party, same as you, I replied coolly. Sam looked me up and down. I have to say, I'm impressed. You've really changed. Thanks, I said. It's amazing what a little hard work can do. Jason snorted. Hard work? Please. You probably just got lipo or something. I felt my jaw clench. Actually, I've been hitting the gym and auditioning. A lot. Oh. Sam raised an eyebrow. Land any big roles lately? I hesitated. Not yet, but... Let me guess, Jason cut in. You're still doing those little community theater gigs? Playing the goofy sidekick? Laughter rippled through the group. I felt my face flush. Hey, Lucas jumped in. Neil's been working his ass off. He's got talent. Sam smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Of course he does. It's just, well, Neil, darling. Losing weight is one thing, but it takes more than that to make it in this town. She's right, Jason added. You need connections. Star power. Something you're sorely lacking, I'm afraid. I took a deep breath, pushing down the anger bubbling in my chest. You're right. I'm not there yet, but I will be. Jason laughed. Keep dreaming, big guy. Maybe one day you'll graduate to playing the funny fat friend in a rom-com. More laughter. I felt my hands shake. You know what? I said, my voice low. You're right. I'm not there yet, but I will be. And when I am, I'll remember this moment. I'll remember every snide comment, every mocking laugh, and I'll use it to fuel my success. The group fell silent.
Sam's smile faltered.
Neil, she started, but I held up a hand. Save it, Sam. I don't need your pity or your mockery. Enjoy your night. I turned on my heel and walked away, Lucas close behind. You okay, man? He asked once we were out of earshot. I nodded, a plan already forming in my mind.
I'm fine.
In fact, I'm better than fine. They want to mock me?
Fine.
But they have no idea what's coming. The sun beat down on the bustling film set. I adjusted my fake crew badge, blending in with the throng of PAs and technicians. All right, I muttered to myself. Let's get this show on the road. I sidled up to a group of crew members on their coffee break. Man, can you believe this guy? I said, nodding towards Jason, who was preening in front of a mirror. One of the grips looked at me. Who, Jason? What about him? I leaned in conspiratorially. You haven't heard? Word is he's been showing up late, totally unprepared. Apparently, he was so coked out yesterday he couldn't remember his lines. The grip's eyes widened.
No shit?
I mean, I knew he partied, but on set? I nodded solemnly. It's getting bad. I heard the director talking about replacing him. The news spread like wildfire. By lunchtime, the entire crew was buzzing with rumors about Jason's unprofessional behavior and drug problem. Later that week, I sat in a dimly lit internet cafe, scrolling through celebrity gossip sites. The headline screamed, Rising star Jason Reed caught in compromising position with married co-star. I grinned, remembering the wad of cash I'd slipped to the paparazzo. The photos were grainy but unmistakable. Jason and Sam, locked in a passionate embrace outside a seedy motel. My phone buzzed. It was Lucas. Dude, his voice crackled through the speaker. Have you seen the news? It's all over the internet. I feigned surprise. What? No, what happened? Lucas filled me in, his voice a mix of shock and glee. It's bad, man. They're saying Jason might lose his role in that big superhero flick. And Sam? Her agent's in full damage control mode. I leaned back in my chair, a sense of satisfaction washing over me. Wow, that's intense. I know, right? Karma's a bitch. Lucas paused. Hey, you okay? I know seeing this stuff about Sam can't be easy. I closed my eyes, picturing Sam's face when she saw the headlines.
Infine, Lucas.
Really? It's like you said, karma? After hanging up, I stared at the computer screen, watching the scandal unfold in real time. Comments poured in, each one more vicious than the last. This is just the beginning, I muttered. You haven't seen anything yet? The casting office was a far cry from the glitzy studios Sam was used to. Peeling wallpaper, flickering fluorescent lights, and the faint smell of cigarette smoke. I adjusted my fake mustache and glasses, watching through the two-way mirror as Sam fidgeted in her seat. The door opened, and I stepped in, adopting a sleazy producer persona. Ms. Walker, I drawled, extending a hand. So glad you could make it.
I'm Dick Johnson.
Sam shook my hand hesitantly. Thank you for seeing me, Mr. Johnson. Your assistant mentioned a significant role? I grinned, settling into the creaky chair behind the desk. Oh yes, very significant. Tell me, Samantha, can I call you Samantha? How badly do you want to revive your career? She leaned forward, desperation in her eyes. More than anything, I'll do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes? I raised an eyebrow. That's good to hear. Because the role I have in mind, well, it's not your typical Hollywood fare.
Sam frowned.
What do you mean? I slid a contract across the desk. I'm talking about adult entertainment, Samantha. The kind of film that could really expose your talents. Her face paled. You mean porn? I prefer the term erotic cinema, I said, waving a hand dismissively. But yes, essentially. Sam stood up, shaking her head.
No.
No way. I'm an actress, not a porn star. I leaned back, fixing her with a hard stare. Are you, though? From what I hear, you're a washed-up has-been who can't book a commercial, let alone a real role. She flinched as if I'd slapped her. That's not. I just need a chance. And I'm offering you one, I said, tapping the contract. This film? It'll go viral. Everyone will be talking about Samantha Walker again. Sam sank back into her chair, her shoulders slumping. I don't know. I pressed on, my voice a mix of sympathy and persuasion. Look, I get it. It's a big step, but think about it. One day of work, and you're back in the spotlight. Isn't that worth it? She stared at the contract for a long moment. Will it be tasteful? I nodded. Of course. Very artistic. European, even. Sam took a deep breath, then reached for the pen. I can't believe I'm doing this. As she scrawled her signature, I felt a twinge of guilt. But then I remembered her cruel words, the way she'd humiliated me. The guilt evaporated. Congratulations, Samantha, I said, tucking the contract away. You've just taken the first step towards your big comeback. Later, in the safety of my apartment, I peeled off the disguise and pulled out my phone. It's done, I texted Lucas. She took the bait. His reply came seconds later. Holy shit, you actually did it. What now? I stared at the screen, a grim smile on my face. Now? We wait. And when the time is right, we release it to the world. As I set the phone down, I caught my reflection in the mirror. The man staring back at me was unrecognizable, not just physically, but in his eyes. There was a coldness there, a ruthlessness I'd never seen before. This is who I am now, I told my reflection, and I'm just getting started. The glow of my laptop screen illuminated the darkened apartment. I refreshed the page for what felt like the 100th time. The video's view count kept climbing, the comments section a cesspool of shock and ridicule. My phone buzzed. Lucas. Dude, he said as soon as I picked up. Have you seen it? It's everywhere. I leaned back in my chair. Yeah, I've seen it. How do you feel? Lucas asked, his voice a mix of concern and excitement. I paused, considering. Honestly, I don't know. Part of me feels satisfied, but another part feels guilty. Lucas finished. Maybe, I admitted. I mean, this is pretty extreme, even for her. Lucas sighed. Look, Neil. She hurt you. Bad. She deserves this. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. You're right. Thanks, man. After hanging up, I scrolled through the industry news sites. The headlines were brutal. Samantha Walker's career in ruins after adult film leak. Studios blacklist Walker amid scandal. From starlet to porn star. The fall of Samantha Walker. A knock at the door startled me. I closed the laptop and went to answer. Sam stood in the hallway, a wreck of her former self. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her hair disheveled. Neil, she croaked. Can I come in? I hesitated, then stepped aside. She stumbled into the apartment, collapsing onto the couch. I assume you've seen it, she said, her voice hollow. I nodded, keeping my distance. It's all over the internet. Sam buried her face in her hands. My life is over. No one will hire me now. I'm ruined. A part of me wanted to comfort her, but I squashed it down. That's showbiz, I guess. She looked up at me, her eyes narrowing. You. It was you, wasn't it? The producer, Dick Johnson. That was you in disguise. I met her gaze steadily. Prove it. Sam let out a bitter laugh. I don't need to prove it. I know it was you. This is your revenge, isn't it? For what I did to you. I shrugged. Karma's a bitch, Sam. She stood up, anger flashing in her eyes. You bastard. You think this makes us even? You've destroyed my life. And you didn't destroy mine? I shot back. You humiliated me, Sam. You tore my heart out and stomped on it. So this is what you do? She yelled. Trick me into doing porn? Leak it online? What kind of monster have you become? I stepped closer, my voice low and dangerous. The kind of monster you created, Sam. You and Jason. At the mention of Jason's name, something changed in Sam's eyes. She slumped back onto the couch, the fight draining out of her. Jason, she muttered. That son of a bitch. I frowned. What about him? Sam looked up at me, a new fire in her eyes. He knew. He knew about the film, Neil. He encouraged me to do it. Said it would be good for my career. I felt a cold knot form in my stomach. What are you saying, Sam? I'm saying, she spat, that Jason set me up. He's been using me this whole time. And now he's abandoned me. Won't even return my calls. I watched as she broke down, sobs racking her body. Despite everything, I felt a twinge of pity. Sam, I said softly, what are you going to do? She looked up at me, her eyes suddenly clear and hard. I'm going to destroy him, just like he destroyed me. I raised an eyebrow. How? A grim smile spread across Sam's face. I'm going to tell the world the truth. About the drugs, the abuse, everything. I nodded slowly. Do it. Take him down. As Sam left my apartment, a plan already forming in her mind, I couldn't help but feel a sense of grim satisfaction. My revenge was complete, and I hadn't even needed to lift a finger for this final act. The film studio buzzed with energy. Crew members rushed back and forth, setting up for the day's shoot. I stood off to the side, running my lines in my head. Neil. Grace's voice cut through the chaos. She hurried over, a wide smile on her face. There's my star. How are you feeling? I grinned back, nervous, excited, a little bit like I'm dreaming. Grace laughed, clapping me on the shoulder. Well, pinch yourself, because this is very real. You ready to knock him dead? As ready as I'll ever be, I replied. Just then, the director approached. Neil. Grace. Good morning. Neil, can I have a word? My heart skipped a beat. Of course. We stepped aside, and the director fixed me with a serious look. Neil, I just wanted to say, I had my doubts about casting you. A relative unknown in such a big role? It was a risk. I nodded, bracing myself for bad news. I understand, sir. To my surprise, he broke into a smile. But after seeing your work these past few weeks, I couldn't be happier. You're nailing it, kid. Keep it up. Relief washed over me. Thank you, sir. I won't let you down. As the director walked away, Grace nudged me. See? I told you you had it in you. I shook my head in disbelief. I still can't believe this is happening. A leading role in a major film? It's like a dream come true. Grace's expression softened. You've earned this, Neil. All those hours at the gym, all those acting classes and auditions. This didn't just fall into your lap. You worked for it. I thought back to those grueling months of training, the countless rejections. Yeah, I guess I did. All right, enough sappy stuff, Grace said, her tone turning businesslike. You've got a scene to shoot. Go make movie magic. As I took my place on set, I caught my reflection in a nearby mirror. The man staring back at me was confident, fit, successful. A far cry from the broken shell I'd been just a year ago. Action, the director called. I took a deep breath and stepped into character, ready to show the world what Neil Fisher was truly capable of. The after-party was in full swing. Music pulsed through the air, champagne flowed freely, and the room was packed with Hollywood's elite. I stood near the bar, basking in the glow of success. Neil. Lucas appeared at my side, grinning from ear to ear. Man of the hour. How does it feel? I clinked my glass against his. Surreal. The movie's a hit. The critics love it. I keep waiting to wake up. Lucas laughed. Better get used to it, buddy. You're a bona fide star now. As we chatted, I noticed a commotion near the entrance. The crowd parted, and my heart skipped a beat. Sam. She looked different. Gone was the polished starlet, replaced by someone who seemed smaller, more fragile. Her eyes scanned the room until they locked onto mine. Oh, Lucas muttered. Want me to run interference? I shook my head. No, it's okay. I'll handle this. Sam made her way over, ignoring the whispers and stares that followed her. Neil, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Can we talk? Please. I nodded, leading her to a quieter corner of the room. What do you want, Sam? She wrung her hands, not meeting my eyes. I wanted to congratulate you on the movie. It's incredible. Thanks, I said, my tone neutral. Is that all? Sam finally looked up at me, her eyes brimming with tears. No, I need your help, Neil. I've lost everything. My career, my home. I've got nothing left. I felt a mix of emotions wash over me. Pity, anger, a twisted sense of satisfaction. And what do you expect me to do about it? I don't know, she said, her voice cracking. Give me another chance? Put in a good word with some producers? Anything, Neil. I'm desperate. I studied her face, searching for any sign of the woman I'd once loved. Why should I help you, Sam? After everything you've done? She reached out, grabbing my hand. Because you're a good man, Neil. Better than me. Better than Jason. I see that now. I was wrong about you. So wrong. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I gently pulled my hand away. I appreciate the apology, Sam, but it's too late. Please, she begged, her voice rising. I've got nothing left. No one else to turn to. You're my last hope. I took a deep breath, steeling myself. No, Sam. I can't help you. What happened to you? It's awful. And I'm sorry you're going through it. But I'm not responsible for fixing your life. Sam's face crumpled. But I love you, Neil. I realize that now. We could start over, be together again. I shook my head. No, we can't. What we had, it's gone, Sam. And it's not coming back. So that's it, she said, anger seeping into her voice. You're just going to leave me like this? Ruined and alone? You did this to yourself, I said firmly. Your choices, your actions, they have consequences. Sam stared at me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. I understand. I'm sorry for bothering you. As she turned to leave, I called out, Sam? She looked back, hope flickering in her eyes. I forgive you, I said softly, not for your sake, but for mine. I'm letting go of the anger, the bitterness. It's time for me to move on. A single tear rolled down Sam's cheek. Thank you, Neil. And goodbye. I watched as she disappeared into the crowd, a chapter of my life closing for good. Lucas appeared at my side. You okay, man? I nodded, a weight lifting from my shoulders. Yeah, I think I am. So, Lucas said, clapping me on the back. What's next for the great Neil Fisher? I grinned, raising my glass. The future, my friend, and it's looking bright. As we rejoined the party, I caught my reflection in a nearby mirror. The man staring back at me was no longer defined by his past, by betrayal or revenge. He was looking forward, ready to embrace whatever came next. The credits rolled on one story, but another was just beginning. And this time, I was the author of my own destiny. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. That would help me a lot. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.